In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, let's break it down! Unstoppable! Not on my watch.
Freeze! Don't move! Ever get that feeling of deja vu? Winky face.
Hello, you're listening to A Hero's Welcome, episode 32. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Wes. I'm here, as always, with Andrew. So, Andrew, how's Overwatch been?
It's been pretty good. I've been having a lot of fun. I think Season 3 is going to be a good one.
I'm definitely looking forward to Season 3, and obviously those listening to us know that we missed last week, and that is our bad. Sorry. This time of the year is so crazy. My work, especially, is really, really crazy, so definitely trying my best to squeeze in all the episodes we can. It was the first time we missed a week, but we'll definitely try really hard every week to get this out to you.
Yeah, holiday season is always crazy, scheduling conflicts and things like that. But we will usually be sticking to the 1 week schedule. It shouldn't be a problem. This is the first one we missed, and hopefully it will be the last one we miss. But
yeah, man. I mean, no matter how much work. I mean, gonna be playing Overwatch. Gonna be loving Overwatch, and especially next year, man, with the E-League. Oh man, can't wait. I'm sure there'll be tons of things to talk about. Looking forward to that. So, anything in particular? You said your placement matches were done. How'd that go?
Yeah, so I had some fun. I did my placement matches. I did all of them. I had some mixed response to some of the placements. It seemed like the skill rating was varying quite a bit. I know they said they did, some different things with the skill rating this time around in Season 3, so they're going to be putting everybody a lot lower to start off, which I'm okay with. I mean, having to work my way back up to rating is okay as long as I get there somewhere, decently, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we knew about, right? We talked a little bit about it, how they were unhappy with the amount of people in the gold and platinum ranks. So everyone pretty much expected to place lower than before, but especially after you place, the mobility you're going to have in that rank is going to be pretty high. So definitely try, especially after placements, to win, obviously, and move up. You should be able to kind of move up pretty quickly after that placement, and I think you had some success with that as well, right?
Right, yeah. I moved up pretty quickly after the placements. I'm still hopefully moving up, but yeah. So I've been having a lot of fun with it. Season 3 seems to be really good. I mean, every season they've definitely improved upon it, and it wasn't just with Season 2 that there was too many people in gold and silver, but it was the wide variety of skill range that they were trying to get rid of. So hopefully things will be a lot more dispersed and divvied out, and we won't see too much craziness going on within each level of the skill rating.
Yep, and you only doing competitive? You trying the arcade out a little bit, or?
Oh yeah, I've been trying the arcade out a lot. Obviously previously before Season 3 launch, in the off season stuff like that, I did play quite a bit of the 3v3 and the 1v1 are the two that I really enjoy a lot. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. It's a cool way, like we said before, to kind of warm up and practice before you get into your competitive matches. So it's definitely something I will continue to check out.
Yeah, I'll probably, because of my work schedule, have that same problem I had last season where I did my placements like really, really late, and that didn't work out very well last time, but I'll probably take another 3 months to figure out which golden weapon I want again this time. But if you have any suggestions, you could let us know. Our contact info is going to be in the description and everything below, but shoot us a tweet and let me know. I mean, what golden weapon do you think is the best?
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be that much of a problem this year for you to do your placements later because everybody will hopefully be settled in by then. And you're still going to have that mobility to move up. So you're going to start out a lot lower anyways, and then you should pretty much shoot back up pretty relatively easy.
I'm not that worried about it, but it's just a lot of times when people get placement people in their matches, they already give up like, oh, man, I've got placement matches in my team. It's always going to be one team. You're usually the only one, right, if you're doing it late, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes, but, it shouldn't be too bad. Season 3 is looking really good so far, so.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into news, a little bit of news. Let's talk about the Game Awards. So there's this company called the Game Awards, and they give away Game Awards, and Overwatch had a pretty good showing.
They pretty much they cleaned up. They took all the best, pretty much. I mean, they took Game of the Year, obviously. I think nobody was really shocked about that. But best game direction, which is awesome. I think they did a really good job, so they deserve that. Best multiplayer game, and of course, best esports game. they took all of those. So yeah, definitely I think well deserved. I mean, it's definitely the best game I've seen all year, both in multiplayer, esports, and just the direction period. So
Yeah, I mean, no big surprise, I suppose. Yeah, and they also talked about the best esport team, right?
yeah, right. So Cloud9, I'm sure we are all familiar with Cloud9. They are taking home the best esport team. I think again, well deserved. They're one of those teams that seem to do well across the board. They definitely have a better showing in some spaces than other. But I mean, even as of recently, they've been doing really well in Overwatch. So
Yeah, and I believe some other organizations got some awards as well. So it's nice, and it's one of those things where, I mean, esports has been around for a little bit, but I mean, the way I see it is it's still in its infancy. I mean, we're still learning how things work. We're still learning, like, how do players go about playing the game competitively, right? Like, do the owner organizations, like, how do they, contract the players? I mean, it's exciting part of the lifespan, but at certain points, like, I just want to get to the point where I know Overwatch is going to be on, every Thursday night. I just want that, and then I'll have the replays, and I have all the highlight reels and the people talking about it throughout the week, right? You almost want it to be there, but it's exciting to be, here and now, right?
oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think again, like you said, there's a lot of unknown about how we go about things and how things are going. But yeah, I mean, I think things are looking really good, especially for Overwatch, but in esports in general. I mean, just the growth we've seen as of lately, and the things that are coming along and changing, and the different organizations that are coming aboard and stuff. So, but I mean, even with even the Game Awards, there was definitely some fun things about the Game Awards, but they had definitely some weirdness going on there as well. So still a lot of things left, up to people to decide. So definitely some things will be changing, I'm sure.
Yeah, and so let's go ahead and talk about Season 3, right? So Season 3 has begun, obviously. Everyone knows that. Very exciting.
Yeah, so I mean, if you were playing recently, I mean, before Season 3 launched, the off-season mode was in effect. People got to try that out for the first time, which I think was really cool as well. I mean, we do have quick play now, that is the 1 hero limit and all that, but still, it's something different to have that unique space, specifically competitive space where you can go and play even if it doesn't affect your skill rating. So that was kind of cool. I like that they did the off-season thing. It kind of gives you the feel of a sport kind of thing, as well as giving you something to look forward to with the countdown. So that happened. And then, of course, now Season 3 has launched. So if you have not checked that out already, do your placement matches. Probably want to get those out of the way as soon as possible.
Yeah, and, even if you just had to place in Season 2, right, and you got some awards, right? You got some sprays and an icon,
right?
and
so
stuff,
you got the spray for just being a challenger and all that in Season 2 as well. So you get a spray and a icon as well.
Yeah, man. They keep all those records too, like, in your history, right? So
right, exactly.
Your highest
you have all
obtained,
those
your season
listed.
ending. Yeah, it's always interesting.
Exactly.
You always show that off, 10, 20 years down the line, like, I was playing, I was a platinum back in day one.
Right. So yeah, it's kind of a skill track as well. You can kind of track your experience across the board and see where you started out and how you've grown, and see where you've been. So definitely cool to have those in there. Like I said, they'll do the same thing for this Season 3 as well. You'll have just a regular challenger icon and spray as well. Then as you place in the top, you will get the others as well.
Remind me, I think I forgot, but did you get the Oni Genji skin? Did we get that together, or?
We haven't done that yet. I was just going to say, it just reminded me.
I have done that, but of course, I'll be more than happy to group up with you and help you get that. It just popped in my head for some reason, but
yep, it just in mine too. So yeah, that's one thing I'm definitely looking forward to getting is the Genji skins. So
but we have some time, right? I mean, I think it's at least January or something, right?
Right, I believe so. So we have plenty of time. I haven't been super worried about it. I did just, build a whole nother computer pretty much, stuff like that. So been down for the last couple of days. But yeah, we definitely got to knock that out.
And we talked about it in the past, but for those who don't know, obviously, you could unlock Oni Genji skin in Overwatch by playing Heroes of Storm. And you could just do, like, really easy AI matches, group up with somebody. And it's pretty quick. You could do, like, hour and a half, 2 hours if you really need to. And it's worth it. And it's only temporary, so grab it now.
Yeah, and you do get an icon as well as a spray, but obviously the Oni Genji skin is the thing that everybody wants.
It is the best Genji skin for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I like my Genji skin that I'm rocking right now, but definitely looks much better than the Genji.
Yeah, and just wrapping up Season 3, obviously we talked a little bit about it, but so if you place a little bit lower than you were expecting, it's no biggie. Everyone placed lower, but you should be able to move around a bit easier. You should be able to climb the ladder a little bit easier. But remember, just PSA, the ladder isn't something that you climb. It's something that you're supposed to kind of find out where you place and then stay there and have good quality matches. And obviously, if you do get better proportionate to those around you, you will obviously naturally go up, and you can obviously go down. But don't want to emphasize too much like the journey of the laddering up, right? So it's a misconception, and a lot of salt is had because someone feels like, oh, I'm stuck at this point. But I mean, that just means you're probably having good quality matches and you're with like-minded players and like skill.
Right, exactly. We have a natural, tendency to think of a ladder, because it's a ladder that we want to climb it and that we want to get better. And of course, you definitely want to get better. I mean, that's obviously the goal in the game, is to play good games, play with people, get better, and move up. So if that's happening and that's your case, then great. But there's obviously a point where some people end up placing where they are, and that ends up being where they stay. And I mean, you can play as much as you want, but some people are only going to get so good. I mean, it just depends on how you play as a person and how much time you're able to devote to it. But ultimately, the goal is to play in like-minded, like you said, matches that are really good matches. So
yeah, and obviously there's a lot of ways to improve. Just seat time in general is going to help a lot. I feel the barrier for a lot of players is they get to a certain point where they have to start like recognizing, okay, what could I have done better there? All of your faults, right? And kind of try to correct that. But I mean, it all comes down to the person, right? I mean, everyone has different expectations. Some people just want to have fun. There's plenty of people who never even venture into competitive, right? So, I mean, ultimately you want to have fun. And obviously, for a lot of people, that's competing at a high level. And I think that's where I fall in. But anyways, so everyone has different, needs and different expectations, and that's great. That's good to have that sort of diversity in the game. Some other types of diversity, maybe not, but that's good to have. A good player base. I mean, how many people do you play this game? Like at least 20 million, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's quite a few people playing this game. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like ever since the game has launched, it's been growing and growing. And I mean, I see tons of people coming in that are newer players, and I see people that are coming in that have been playing for quite some time. So I mean, definitely a lot of people playing the game. So a lot of different expectations, a lot of different viewpoints on how to be playing the game and how they want to play the game and what they expect out of it.
Right. So let's talk about Symmetra, because she got a ton of change. And I think it's worth, diving pretty deep into her. So, obviously, Symmetra got a redesign. Kaplan talked a little bit about it on the forums and everything. Obviously, we saw in the PTR, and it's live now. Quite a bit of change. And we knew this was coming, right? So, they've been saying that they wanted to make her less situational. And she had a really good win rate, one of the best win rates. But, she had some problems there. But so, let's just talk about her. So, previously, like I said, too situational. You only saw her like on the first point defense. Typically, when the teleporter was useful, was pretty much whenever you saw her. And they came up with some really creative ways to fix that, right?
Right. So I mean, we did specifically, have a developer update where Jeff Kaplan sat down and talked about it, and he talked previously at BlizzCon and other developer updates that they were looking at Symmetra and trying to change that. They wanted her to become a core hero as well. They wanted her to be something where someone could want to play her all the time and not have her just instantly have people upset that you're playing Symmetra because you're not on the first point or something like that. So they did quite dramatically change some of her abilities. She still feels the same in her core aspect of how she plays. They didn't change her core aspect. They didn't change the teleporter, but they just kind of, I think, roughly changed the way you look at her kind of kit.
Yeah, and she's still under that healer banner, right? She's still under that healer banner.
Support, yeah.
Support. But, so, I mean, they're pretty good changes. Let's talk a little bit about it. So, she's going to be the first hero to have 2 different ults, and she's going to be able to choose between them. That's a pretty cool pretty cool solution. I
Right.
think.
So it's pretty unique. One of the things I worried about right away was this going to change things too dramatically? We get into the talking point of when Kaplan and they were talking in the beginning before the game released. One of the things they were trying out is kind of talents and stuff like that, where you could kind of put talents in your abilities. Say you had Reaper, you could Wraith form, and one of the talents would heal you when you Wraith form, and one would make you go faster. And they kind of shied away from that because it changed things so much that then you'd have situations where you're playing against a Reaper and you don't know what his abilities do exactly. And they didn't want to get into that. So it's one of the things that I was kind of concerned about with this whole 2 Ultimates. But I think the way they did it was very unique, and it works really well. So none of them are super groundbreaking as far as, different from each other. One is a teleporter. You have the teleporter. It's a little bit stronger as far as they did add shield to the teleporter.
Quite
so
a
now
bit of
it'll
shield.
hopefully it will stick around a lot easier, and it's a lot easier to defend. Then they also have what they're calling the shield generator is her new ability for ultimate.
Yeah, so both the shield generator and the teleport have the same health. It's 50 health, but it has a good amount of shield. I want to say it's like 200, 250. So ultimately
It's 200, I believe.
Yeah, so ultimately it has actually more health than it had previously. But what this fends from is, if you have like a summer backline just doing a little bit of poke to the telly, for example, she's gonna not be able to take it down. It's gonna generate that shield over time. So
Right. So I was able to actually get into PTR and check it out quite a bit. And basically, as long as you fend people off of the teleporter when they come to kind of attack it, it can stay alive pretty well because the shields, are the majority of its health, and they do regenerate over time. So you can kind of play around that, as opposed to before where it was all just health, and they could poke at it and eventually they take it down, and it just felt like wasteful because it wasn't able to do a lot. So both of them have shields. The shield generator is pretty unique in the way it works. I think it's a pretty ingenious idea, the way they made it work out. So basically you choose between the teleporter or the shield generator. So when your ultimate comes up, you get to swap between them, and then you place it down wherever they are. Both, buildable items in the world. You place them down. They have health. They can be killed off. And the shield generator basically works as an AoE, and as long as your team stays in that AoE, they get a huge shield put on them.
Yeah, it's important to point out that you don't have to be in line of sight to benefit from the shield. And 75 shield is quite dramatic. And obviously, we'll talk about the ability that replaced her last E, but she no longer individually places shields on people. That probably wasn't the most fun, exciting gameplay.
Yeah, Kaplan specifically said, it just didn't feel fun. It felt like you were kind of preparing for the battle this whole time. You'd come out, you'd have to race to the point, try and put down your turrets, try and give everybody shields, and it just felt like that was it. Once game started, you couldn't change positions very well. You didn't have any healing, so you can't really support your team in that way. It's kind of hard to be in the middle of a fight and throwing down, putting shields on people, that sort of thing. So it just didn't feel very fun. So they kind of got rid of that whole thing, and the shield generator kind of came out of that. So it is 75 shield, which is pretty crazy. I mean, we talked about it previously when her E was her shield in the very beginning of the game when it released. Before it got nerfed, it was 50 shield, and that was pretty OP, as we saw with Genji's and other players like that, Hanzo and Genji being able to have that 50 shield. Now it's 75.
Yeah, and I think the shield generator does solve a lot of the problems, right? Because like you said, having that 50 shield on those Tracer and Genjis were detrimental because they could go back line and really harass the team. But because it's an AoE, you don't really have that fear of, okay, now Genji's going to be unkillable with this, huge amount of extra health. And obviously,
well,
go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's still yet to be seen as far as that goes, because it is a huge AoE. It's about 45 to 50 meters. It covers a huge point. I mean, you may not have some, Genji or Tracer going back a line with it, but as far as on the defensive side, it will definitely cover the whole point and then some for people. So it is a pretty big radius, and yeah, I mean, it is 75 shield, but if you do leave the radius for about 5 seconds or more, it will fall off. And the shield generator does not give you shields. It only puts an initial shield on you. The shield does recuperate over time, but if you're getting attacked, it doesn't build up automatically or anything like that.
Yeah, and I think the obvious problem that it provides is Symmetra stays relevant, right? Even after just defending point A. You don't have to run back to the spawn and get off for as your teammates are yelling, "We don't need a Symmetra." But yeah, so she stays relevant a lot more times, which is probably the single most important, problem that she had prior to this fix. So I like it, and obviously there's some more changes that complement that as well. But yeah, so the shield generators, I mean, obviously, and we still have those voice lines, when you come out, and a lot of people are kind of complaining like, oh, they don't even have to see the teleporter, and the enemy team gets like, oh, there's a teleporter. So I mean, it's gonna be obvious when you have a tele down. They don't even need to see it, but it should be easier to keep alive, and you don't have to put it like way in the back line. I think they're gonna see much more aggressive locations where the team's actually at, especially with the shield generator, obviously for the benefit of it. But I'm looking forward to those interesting little placements, and maybe certain comps and things that could really exploit that additional shields.
Right. I think, people will see there's going to be a lot of ways that you can use both the teleporter and the shield generator as well. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how people use it and how we see it, especially in the high-rated play. I want to see if we see some more Symmetra at the top rating. But I think ultimately the thing that we're going to talk about that I think really makes her relevant, more so than even the shield generator, is going to be her new E ability, and that is called the Photon Barrier. So you can kind of think of it like a Reinhardt shield, but it is not. It's not just something that you put on or off. It is your E ability. You're gonna put it out, and it is kind of like an oval shape. Think of, and you kind of project it out, and it goes straight forward. Out to your front. So wherever you're facing, you're gonna push it out, and it's just gonna run straight forward on a track. So really what you see people doing, especially right now, is they're able to use that to close the gap on things like Genjis and Hanzos and even like soldiers, because you can sit behind that shield and just run up on people. And also they did increase her left click ability. It's not a huge amount, but it is quite a bit.
Yeah, so so first things first, Photon Barrier, very, very good. If you're playing the game, you've probably seen it. I'm assuming you're playing the game. It's kind of like Reinhardt shield, but it does move, and it moves about the speed of like an average run speed. So if if you're Symmetra and you fire it off, if you're running forward, you're moving at about the same rate. So I'm thinking, breaking those choke points is going to be very, very beneficial. And also just those stalemates sometimes you get into, right? So it denies a lot of area to your opponents, and you're able to get position yourself in a place that's beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's going to allow you to close the gap and be able to left click before you get killed. Because, I mean, previously, unless you kind of caught them off guard, Genjis or soldiers could kind of just take you out pretty quickly before you were able to close that gap on them. And that was ultimately the problem, because your right click, you can kind of fire that from wherever, but it moves really slow. It's probably kind of hard to use that as like a main source of damage, because in a 1v1, you're not really going to be able to use that much.
Yeah, and I think, in a group context, it's even more powerful. Even when you have that Reinhardt, it's like you're saving probably about 1,000 damage shield, and he's able to get much further. I'm just thinking like those choke points, those certain points of the map where you could really, really use it. And I think, we'll see some interesting combos with it and stuff as well. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, so let's talk about her primary and secondary attack. So her beam, does the same damage and everything, but the range has been more extended. So obviously that's a buff. It does do quite a bit of damage once it locks on, and everything pretty much works the same. It's just, what was it, like 5 to 7? I mean, it's a pretty substantial increase.
Yeah, so I mean the Photon Barrier it's a good maybe 5 extra meters or something like that. But as well as that, another thing that Symmetra had quite a problem with was being able to relocate in a situation where you're defending a point or something until it comes to the payload on like a hybrid map. Once you lose that point, she really had to reset up somewhere else. And if you're constantly moving with the payload, it's kind of hard to set up a moving turret setup. I mean, unless you're putting it on the payload, and then they pretty much get killed off. So one of the things they did to kind of compensate for that is now you can hold a maximum of 6. You always were able to hold a max of 6, but you had to start at 3 and kind of ramp up, as opposed to now you can hold a maximum of 6 and you start out with that 6. and they do actually ramp up quicker than they did before. So it allows you to move and place turrets a lot better.
Yeah, so the cooldown was reduced in between, because you could only have 6 at any given time, right? But the recharge on the cooldown was shortened, and so once you place your 3, for example, if you ever play Symmetra, you're setting up your turrets before the map. It's like, okay, you put the 3, then you're waiting for cooldown 1, wait for cooldown 1. So you won't have that problem anymore. You just instantly place the 6 exactly where you want them. And, so it just allows you to have more turrets. And, zapping more people, pretty interesting. Pretty interesting.
Well,
I like it.
I mean, ultimately, it allows her to move and be able to be more relevant on the move. So you're constantly being able to put down, turrets, and it's quite a big deal, because if you can move and place those, just the slowing effect that the turrets have is quite a addition to a team to defend against.
Yeah, it'd be really cool if she could shoot her shield and then get like a Lucio speed boost and put some turrets on her moving shield. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be definitely interesting. But definitely, I think with the addition of the extra changes, the faster placement of the turrets and the photon barrier, I definitely think we will see a lot more Symmetra. I mean, I've seen quite a bit more Symmetras just in the recent my placements and such. But hopefully that will continue.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, I'm not convinced she's meta tier, but obviously, all the heroes are good enough, and you can play them all and have a good time. But I'm waiting. I think the jury's still out if Symmetra is really going to be impactful in the metagame, but we'll see. I'm looking forward to her.
Yeah, I definitely don't think in the top tiers you're going to see meta, as far as Symmetra is concerned. But I mean, with the recent changes, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing some interesting pocket plays with Symmetra. It's definitely a hero you can kind of pull out and play some interesting ways with her. So definitely looking forward to seeing some of that.
And on the console, she's probably rocking pretty good too. I imagine. But we'll follow up with Symmetra and see how she's doing with their meta reports in the future and things. But I'm looking forward to it. But still waiting to see. But let's talk about Oasis, because we saw a little bit of Oasis at BlizzCon, and it looked amazing.
This is amazing. I mean, we've been looking forward to obviously any new content is always great. With the addition of Sombra, I think everybody's still having a lot of fun with Sombra. I know I've been having quite the fun with her. But with the new map Oasis, I mean, I don't know if a lot of people have got their hands on it yet. It is now on the PTR right now. So you can check it out. If you have not checked it out, definitely download the PTR and check it out. It looks staggering.
Yeah, so they are on track time-wise. They did say we're going to PTR it in December, and they're looking for an early 2017 live date. And it looks like, they're on track for that. Map looks amazing. There's 2 new mechanics.
Right. So I mean, I definitely don't see any reason why they can't make that early 2017. I mean, it looks amazing right now. It's playable in the PTR. I didn't notice any problems or issues with it, really, anything like that. And it looks really amazing. But it's definitely 2 new mechanics in it, and they are kind of interesting.
Yeah. So really quickly, one of the new mechanics is there's like a highway with moving cars on it that pretty much just one shot you if you come in contact with them. So
right,
no
so the
Frogger
moving cars. Yeah, definitely watch out for the cars. It was kind of interesting because I was watching it before I actually got onto the PTR and was able to play it, and it looks like the cars are like right out of the door when you walk out of your spawn, but they're actually on the opposite sides. So there's actually 2 streets that go around the whole map on this point particular that they're on, and the cars are going the opposite way. They're going away from you toward the other side. So whichever side you're coming out of, they're on the second lane. So I mean, they're quite obvious. They're coming down the track pretty good speed, but you definitely do not want to get hit by those cars.
Definitely looking forward to those Reddit videos, in the future of the Reinhardt charge into that and the whole team dies or whatever. People will have fun. It'll be fun. But the other mechanic, the jump pad, we heard Kaplan talk about it. He was pretty excited. He seemed a little worried, is it going to break the game? I mean, can we do this in Overwatch? But, it looks cool. I mean, I don't see it being a major problem.
No, it's definitely not a major problem. I've been able to, get some games in. I mean, you can pretty much go on the PTR right now, and I want to say it's the only map that they're running on quick play on the PTR, I believe, because I've played quite a few matches, and it's all Oasis. So you can go on there, quick play, and play against some people on the map. And on the one point that it is on, they have one single jump pad, so it's kind of like the central thing that you guys can fight for. You have the actual point that you're trying to capture, but the jump pad actually allows you to get the height advantage and to look down over the point. So
Yeah, it is a King of the Hill.
yes, it is a capture point or King of the Hill type map. And like I said, there's only one jump pad. It is in, you have the very center is where the control point is, and then just behind that is where the jump pad is. And you kind of run up on it and you jump, and it kind of takes you up. Now, there is like a slight time limit between. You can't just constantly jump. So if you do go up in the air and you come back down, there is a wait time before you go back up again before you're able to jump. So it's definitely something that is pretty unique. There's definitely different ways you can use that ability to kind of move around and things like that. But again, it's one of those things where when you're in the air, you are kind of vulnerable in that manner. So
Yeah, in addition to Oasis is looking really good, even though it's a Koth map and we have Koth maps already, the design is really unique. I mean, just like the maps themselves and the actual capture point itself, like the different angles in which you could approach, the viewing sites, and just the objects in general.
Right.
Create a pretty
the map
dynamic.
looks like brand new. It looks like new construction. It looks really well. But besides the two new, the jump pad and the cars, there are a lot of interesting things that are different about Oasis. I can think of one point specifically where you have another type of like well situation like you do on the well in Ilios, I believe it is. But it doesn't just go down to nowhere. So you can't get environmental deaths with it, but it does make some interesting play where you can actually knock people down and have to walk all the way around to get back up kind of thing. As well as there's places where like Lucio can really shine. There's like pillars that are on the outside of this like indoor map. So he can kind of go around there and do his thing and wall ride around all those. And, it's really interesting way for him to kind of get around the map. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely some really cool things about the new map.
Yeah, and there are definitely some environmental death opportunities, even on that same exact point. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's not as bad as dying, right? Having like, you kind of have this little run up the stairs thing. But, I mean, it looks like a pretty good hiding spot, too. So we'll see. And obviously, mobility characters like Diva and stuff could easily go in and out as they please. But, I mean, the map looks amazing.
But, I mean,
I'm assuming they're going to do like the... make it more like lived in, when you saw the old maps when they first came out, it looked kind of plain, they kind of add like garbage. I mean, it just makes it look like it's lived in, right?
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure we'll see some of that. But yeah, I mean, definitely really cool, interesting spots. There is a lot of, different elevation changes and things like that where you can kind of get elevation and you can overlook on certain places, and definitely some sniper spots. There's definitely, I had a lot of fun. I always talk about I love playing Genji, and so any chance I can get to play Genji, this is a fun map for Genji. He can climb around everywhere, jump around. I mean, there's tons of space for him to move around and climb over and in and out of, and just makes things really interesting to be able to change your direction and your location really easy as being able to wall climb with him.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to Oasis. I mean, what do you have a prediction? You think January? You mean like that early, 2017?
I would guess like February, like the very beginning of February is when I'm gonna guess.
All right. I mean, I could wait. I could wait it out. Definitely looks good. Gonna check out. So there is. Let's talk about the stay as a team feature, right? So I mean, I don't know how popular this is gonna be. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things I think, some people are really going to love it, and some people are just going to not even bother with it. I know, like I said, have played quite a few matches on the PTR. I've not really used it too much, only because, it really depends on if you really like the team or not. And the thing is there's always a chance you could get a worse team, but there's always a chance you can kind of get a better team. And so unless you really feel like the team is, communicating very well and playing really good as a team, I think a lot of people will opt to just roll the dice again, because you still are, in your skill rating range. So you're still going to get people like-minded in your skill. So
Yeah, so let's say what it is. So pretty much it's a new feature it's on the PTR right now. Obviously, it'll be coming live when they think it's done. But what it allows you to do is at the end of a match, there's an option to stay as a team. And I'm assuming if the other people agree to stay as a team, you ensure the same teammates in your future games.
Well, it's going to attempt to. It's not 100% guaranteed that you will. And there is a little counter, so you can check the box to stay as a team, and then you can see, how many out of 6 people checked it as well. So that's the other thing that kind of bars it is like, a lot of people have that kind of feeling that unless they see somebody else check it, they probably won't. And so I watched quite a few matches get, not a single person clicked it. Then it's like as soon as one person clicked it, then like everybody starts clicking it kind of thing.
Yeah,
so
but it'll probably do like if 3 or 4 of them click it, they'll probably try to put them together, right?
Yes, it's definitely going to try and keep you together, but it's not 100% guarantee. Like I said, if the matchmaker thinks that it really can't find a match for you as a group, it might split you up.
Yeah, the only thing I see is, if 4 of you from the last game agreed, is it gonna be like you're a 4-man group now, and you're gonna be up against another 4-man? Like if that's the case, like no one's ever gonna do it, right?
Exactly. That's the thing is you got to wonder, is your team cooperation good enough to go up against an actual 4-stack that's not just grouped as a team, but is actually, friends, maybe IRL or not, and they might know each other and communicate much better. So, I mean, again, it's one of those things where, Kaplan wants to kind of encourage people to group up and play together. But it's a huge detriment if you don't play well together, because on top of that, it's incentivizing the fact that you are a group. And so the teams that you're going up against, they're going to be weighing your skill much higher than it might actually be.
Yeah, so, I mean, what I see is, I agree that Overwatch needs to facilitate grouping up and having things that make it easier to find people to group up with and play with. And obviously when I talked to Kaplan at BlizzCon, that was pretty much the bulk of his statement when I asked him about solo queue is we want to implement these features where people can find group players and whatever, socialize and all that kind of thing in the game, and that's great. So I mean the idea I'm a fan of, and I think Overwatch could definitely use some community features, but this is obviously not really going to help, in my opinion.
Yeah, this I really feel like this is more of kind of their stopgap. I don't know what the time frame is looking at on the community features at large, like something like a clans or guilds or something like that I'm sure we're expecting. I know Kaplan talked about it in the past, something that will be in the later future. I don't know when we'll see something like that, but I feel like this is kind of a stopgap for something like that. It's not really going to be a huge thing. It's not going to be something that's going to solve all your problems. But I feel like it's easy enough to do that they felt like it was necessary to kind of put a feature like this in the game. So for most of this, I don't think it's something that's going to change anything for us.
So if Overwatch had guilds or clans, would that be something that you'd be interested in? Would you join a guild?
I mean, I think I would definitely be interested in it. To say that, again, would solve all the problems, I think ultimately, a game like this is super competitive. For competitive play alone, that still doesn't really solve the problem. But it definitely makes things a lot better, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could start simple, just like chat channels, right? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they could just have a solo queue in the game. That'd be awesome.
I mean, I think that's ultimately, we talk about it all the time, and it just sounds funny to continually keep, pounding away at the same idea. But I mean, I think ultimately that's the only way to really go. I mean, I think they're gonna figure that out eventually. I don't know when that will be. I know.
Yeah, and it's
Blizzard
not
can definitely be stubborn in their ways,
and I feel like Kaplan, like the way he took it was, oh, we want you to group up and play with people. It's a group game. Like I'm not saying like I don't disagree with all of that. It's just the quality matches. That's all I'm concerned about with the solo queue, right? Like quality matches. Everyone is at the ranking that they got there on their own, and they could pull their weight, as opposed to, it's not me like rebelling against, I don't want to group up with people and I don't have any friends.
No, and see, that's the thing is, now that they have also made the changes to quick play where it's one hero limit, you have a skill rating, you have a hidden MMR in that quick play. It does, judge your skill compared to other people, groups you with like-minded people. I think we would argue to say that, the matchmaking is as good as competitive, if not maybe better than competitive is right now, as far as placing you in better matches. And now that exists with the one hero limit, there's no reason why people can't group up and have plenty of fun playing that. I think ultimately for competitive mode, they need to take a hard look at just one single player solo queue.
I mean, obviously they should just take the route that Heroes of Storm took, and it's the same company, right? So they could take some notes, but you have a solo queue, that's one group of people, and then you have a whole nother queue dedicated for teams, and you can have 2 stacks, you have 3 stacks, you can have 4 stacks. The only thing you can't have is 5 stacks, and you can have 6 stacks, and all those go in a whole nother pool, and it'll work out just great, I think. I mean, there's enough players, right?
Oh, yeah. I think there's plenty of players to do something like that, and I think that's ultimately what
Heroes
I would
of Storm
like to see.
can do it, and I know there's way more people playing Overwatch. That's all I'm saying.
Right. So, yeah, I think that's definitely what we look forward to in the future, and hopefully they will realize that as well. But
all right, so that's enough harking on that. So let's talk about competitive, because competitive did happen since our last show. Quite a bit of things. So let's talk. Let's start off with Overwatch Apex Season 1.
Right. So Overwatch Season 1, the Apex, prize pool, it's about 180,000. Pretty large prize pool as well. It is the playoffs, 8 teams, single elimination. And so you definitely want to check that out. Round 1, Reunited versus Africa Blue, 2-3. Pretty amazing matchup there. I think that's definitely a match you want to check out. And Rogue versus Envy, always 2 really good teams matching up. 2-3, Envy taking that one, finally getting the better of Rogue over the last few matchups that they've had. So definitely those are the 2 matches I would suggest taking a look at. I think overall is a really good tournament. And so, yeah, definitely. And as well as Africa Blue versus Envy just happening again this Saturday the 3rd.
Yeah, and great games. I mean, obviously, teams we've been talking about for a while, Rogue and Envy being at the top. Those games are always good. We've become acquainted with the players, and it's nice little story to be told there. But yeah, I mean, overall pretty good. Obviously, recommend catching those VODs. And yeah, Africa Blue, kind of a newer team, and we like to see newer teams. I mean, it's the first time I see them.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, it's always great to see new teams, and that's one of the things that keeps us hopeful that it will continue propelling us into the future. With the esports league coming out and things like that, we're definitely looking forward to the future of Overwatch, and it's just another thing that shows us how committed people are to this game, and I think it's great.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and talk about MLG Vegas. Is happening in Mandalay Bay, December 16th to 18th. So Overwatch is coming to Sin City. What do we know about that?
Right, so that is going to start off with a group stage. It's 2 groups of 4, and it is double elimination, and the top 2 of those teams will advance to the playoffs. The playoffs will be 4 teams total, single elimination, and so far, the teams are FaZe, Cloud9, of course, Rise Nation, Liquid, Fnatic, Envy, Complexity, and NRG, so all top flight teams. Definitely don't want to miss that. Check it out, and if you're in Vegas, you might as well check it out, definitely.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll hear many stories, a lot of the players, hopefully they could, keep cool, at least, do all the crazy stuff after the matches, right? You don't want to jeopardize your career in esports in Vegas, even though it would be very tempting. But I'm sure most of them are very good boys and gals, and they'll be well behaved.
Right, so definitely looking forward to that. That will be December 16th through the 18th. So definitely don't forget to check that out, and we will keep you up to date on that. As well as next up is the Overwatch Team Story Chapter 1, which was a $101,000 prize pool, and that is it's a regional tournament, and that is a group stage, and that is starting from this December 2nd to the 24th, and we will definitely keep you up to date on that. And the playoffs start the 29th of December and go through to January 8th.
Yeah,
so it's a pretty large-sized tournament, and I expect some really fun, unique play out of this tournament.
Yeah, and obviously it's a Chinese ran tournament, so it's always great to see other regions, right? Because most of the time we're talking about NA and EU. But yeah, we obviously know there's people playing this game all over the world, and obviously with the E-League coming around the corner, they're gonna need some teams to represent that region of the world as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Obviously, seeing some talent, rise in the ranks, and yeah,
what's really cool about this tournament is not only just a Chinese regional tournament, but usually in other tournaments, because, when Overwatch first started out, maybe there wasn't a huge amount of people from each region playing. And so a lot of times you'd have EU and NA teams still hopping into the other like Chinese regional tournaments. But this tournament is locked. It is Chinese only regional. So only the Chinese teams will be playing. So if you want to check out the meta, and it really gives us a chance to fill out their meta and see, the things that they are trying out and the different plays, how they're running their comps and things like that. Instead of before we had, EU and NA and other regions mixing it up, and then, it's kind of hard to get a feel for how their region plays.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's definitely really cool.
Yeah, it's always good to have the tournaments, right, with different regions, not only because you have the different metas kind of clashing, which we see in other games as well, but it also brings a lot of spectators, right, when you have the large organizations like Cloud9 and the rest. You know what I'm saying? Like, you bring numbers, right? You have the fans of those organizations. So a lot of the times, that's one of the major incentives of having it. But obviously, for this tournament, we'll be covering it. Next month we'll be talking about it in the next few shows to come. But yeah, it's just nice to have a regional tournament, right? And just pretty much, who's the best in China? I mean, that's pretty much what we want to find out, right? And we don't know if they'll have the E-League in China from day one. What do you think? Think they'll have the combines in China right away?
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting thing is I think Overwatch is big enough. I think definitely we will see some. I hope that, things will continue to grow. Obviously, day one, maybe it may not be huge, but I think we'll see some representation in China.
Well,
for
we
sure,
know
in the other
that
regions.
the grand scheme is definitely worldwide. So we know, the end game plan is, of course, there's going to be, teams in China and all over the world. But I was just wondering, are they going to play the more safe and just like kind of start at NA, then branch out? I'm not sure. We'll obviously.
No. I definitely think we'll see other regions specifically. I think China as well will be a part of the major regions that will start out. I think it's big enough in both, like Korea, it's pretty huge right now. I definitely expect to see some coming out of there, as well as NA, EU, and I think China will be among those as well.
Yeah, so lastly, let's talk about the MGA Masters Gaming Arena that's organized by MSI. We mentioned it many times. We're just mentioning it again because the main event is coming up very soon, December 7th to December 8th. So if you want to catch those games, if you like NIP, Rise Nation, some good teams there, should be pretty good matches. What do you think?
Yeah, I think NIP has been doing pretty well as of lately. They're a pretty interesting team, and they have a lot of really top players. Definitely check out NIP, Kongdu, and Rise Nation, 3 huge teams, and then we'll have the MSI sponsor as well, and that is coming up, like I said, it's this Wednesday and Thursday by the time you get this.
Yeah, I mean, it's the end of the year, but a lot of great tournaments. I mean, what do you think? Are you happy with the progression that we've seen in Overwatch? I mean, we're looking at what, maybe 6 months, after launch. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's been doing really well. I think just the amount of growth we've seen and the different organizations becoming involved, I think it's looking really good so far, and I think it's just going to continue to rise and rise, and I think it's going to be continuing to get even better. So definitely, we always look forward to the future of Overwatch and of esports in general, and we will keep you guys up to date. And I think that is going to do it for this show. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will see you next week.
Yeah, and again, sorry for last week. We try our best to get a show in every single week. It was the first one we missed. Sorry again. But yeah, thanks so much for listening. Thanks for all those people who have reached out and take the time to write to us, whether it be our email, Twitter, or where have you. The show is brought to you by 2 Moon Studios, and you can contact us. We're on a Heroes Welcome Podcast at gmail.com, and we're also on Twitter at 2 Moon Studios. And yeah, I think that's going to do it. Thank you so much. And obviously that information is going to be somewhere easy for you to find, whether it be description or the show notes. And we'll see you next week.
Till next time.
Till next time.